Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very special broadcast brought to you by Bahamas Power and Light in observance of the International Day of Women and Girls in Science. I'm Samantha Camp, your host for today, and it is my hope that this show inspires women and girls to embrace the science that is all around us. With great momentum and interest to accelerate progress in achieving the 2030 Development Agenda and its 17 global goals, the 6th International Day of Women and Girls in Science Assembly theme is Beyond the Borders, Equality in Science for Society, with a special focus on the value of the social aspects and cultural dimensions in science, technology, and innovation to enhance sustainable development programs. Science and gender equality are both vital for the achievement of the internationally agreed developed goals, including the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Over the past 15 years, the global community has made a lot of effort in inspiring and engaging women and girls in science. Yet, women and girls continue to be excluded from participating fully in science. At present, less than 30% of researchers worldwide are women. According to UNESCO data, 2014 to 2016, around 30% of all female students select STEM-related fields in higher education. Globally, female students' enrollment is particularly low in ICT, a mere 3%. Natural science, mathematics, and statistics, 5%, and in engineering, manufacturing, and construction, 8%. With this in mind, BPL wanted to highlight our female scientists right within our organization. I'm also excited to be a part of today's show, as I have taught high school science before my time here at BPL. On this International Day of Women and Girls in Science, join us in celebrating women and girls who are leading innovation and the call for action to remove all the barriers that hold them back. Joining me today are some incredible women in science. We have with me Dr. Kenya Longley, Mrs. Rochelle McKinney, and Miss Chantel Nesbitt. How are you ladies doing today?
Very well, thank you.
Wonderful. So let's start with Miss Nesbitt. Miss Nesbitt, could you tell us, how did your career in science actually begin?
I actually started off in engineering. In school, I was very good in physics, chemistry, and math, so it was a natural transition to go into engineering. In 2001, the Bahamas passed the Health, Safety, and Work Act, and that led me into safety. So right now, I'm working with health and safety.
Okay. And what did you have to study in particular to get to that point?
I had to study physics, chemistry, and math. I had to do a lot of those. And as I got into safety, I did a lot of additional training in, working with persons, being safe on the job, being safe during construction, making sure that they are safe while they're at work.
Interesting. I'm sure there are a lot of little girls who are good in science and math who might want to think about that. And Miss McKinney, how are you today?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Awesome. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got to this point?
Well, yes, as a child, I was always fascinated with sort of how things interact with one another. And that led me into really looking at chemistry as a passion.
Awesome.
And as you know, everything involves chemistry. Chemistry is one of our basic sciences. And I really fell in love with the way how chemicals interact with one another and what happens when they get in the environment and where they go and so on and so forth. So I actually studied chemistry for my associate's degree at the College of the Bahamas, which is now the Great University of the Bahamas.
You just dated yourself?
That's okay, that works. And then I went on to study chemical engineering.
Awesome.
And then I decided I didn't want to pollute the environment, which is sort of a focus on chemicals and in engineering. So I decided to move on to the side of cleaning things up.
Okay.
And I moved into environmental engineering, and that's where I've been ever since, in looking at how we can preserve our environment for generations to come.
Awesome. Preservation. Good. Now, the good doctor, Dr. Kenya Longley, tell us about how you got to this point.
Well, I actually wanted to be a farmer
Okay.
at first, so I had a little hand in that. And then I decided, well, it wasn't for me. So I went into technology at University of Bahamas. It was COB back then. And then I went off and I did biological and agricultural engineering. And then from there I went and did my master's in civil engineering with emphasis in natural resources conservation. And I did my PhD in the same.
Awesome. I mean, when you think about girls in science and women in science, I mean, when you think about girls when they're young, they go from Barbie dolls. So how does it transition for you all from, you know, Barbie dolls and Dolly House to where you are now, Dr. Longley?
Well, I mean, it wasn't a big transition. It's, you know, I like playing with dolls and I like science. So, you know, there was no issue, you know.
They're not mutually exclusive.
Right,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay, so it's not as if you, hey, so the little girl who's playing with dolls now, she can
She can
definitely
also
get
be-
to this point.
Exactly.
Awesome, awesome. Tell us, were you naturally inclined to science growing up?
I would say that I was. Like Ms. McKinney said, I liked looking at the way things work. You know, there's always, okay, well, how does this happen? How does that happen? And because of that, I got, you know, wanted to be interested in the science and engineering. And, you know, all through school, I ended up focusing on those areas. And those are the subjects that I excelled in. So it was natural for me to transition into engineering.
Okay. All right. I know for me as a biologist, I remember photosynthesis, you know, trying to see if I could swallow an apple seed and let a tree grow. So I totally understand. Miss McKinney?
I think I realized that I was going to really focus on science when, for Christmas, my mom bought me a Baby Alive doll. I had wanted this doll for the entire year, I think. And the very first day I fed the doll and, you know, because it's supposed to have all the movements or whatever. Anyway, so I decided to give it a bath. And of course, I broke it the very first day. So this is on Christmas Day. And I wanted to know why it broke. So I tore the doll apart to figure out what went wrong. And that's when I learned that batteries and water don't mix. So that was the start of it for me. So, yes.
And about what age was that? That was...
Oh, I don't know. That was when Baby Alive first came out. A while back, I would say, maybe around 8 or 7 or something like that.
All right. And Dr. Longley, could you tell us exactly what your doctorate is in?
So my degree is a civil engineering degree, but my research is environmental engineering based. So I did natural resource conservation engineering, and I focus on water quality, lake surface waters.
Okay. And how did you get into, you know?
How did I get into? It just fell in my lap. You know, I knew as a kid I wanted to be. I always said I wanted to be a farmer. My mommy was like, "Well, agriculture, yeah, you know, that's a big thing here." So when I did the agriculture, I went to the Netherlands and took a course, and I decided hands-on wasn't for me. But we did a lot of calculations and stuff to get, you know, to find out what we needed. And so from that, I decided I'll go into engineering.
Okay. So hands-on wasn't for you. The
Hands-on,
outside,
agriculture wasn't for me.
the sweating and
Yeah.
planting the seed, that wasn't you.
No.
No. So
No.
see, still very much of a girly girl. Awesome. Okay. So I know the pressing question is, how do you actually implement or use the science that you know now in what you do daily, your daily job?
Okay, so at Bahamas Power and Light, I am the manager for health, safety, and environment. My engineering degree gives me the opportunity to actually understand how the power utility is working.
Okay.
And in understanding that, it then puts me in a position to know, okay, these are the things that we need to put in place to make sure that no one gets hurt, the environment doesn't get polluted. You know, we're actually doing things the right way and safely on the job.
Yes, I know. If you, I know whenever I go neck, Chantel's area, safety first. That's the two words I always remember hearing. So that is true. Okay, awesome. Miss McKinney?
Yeah, so at BPL, I am the manager for environmental services.
Okay.
And we really focus on environmental projects and making sure that BPL makes a transition that the world has already gone through, really and truly, into being more environmentally sustainable and making good choices in terms of our environmental performance.
Okay.
So we look at gathering data that support the decisions that our executive team will need to make, as well as engaging in projects that will get the company closer to our ultimate environmental goals and making sure that we're in line with the country's environmental goals. And Kenya could probably talk a little bit more about the projects and how that interacts with what we do.
Yeah, so currently I'm BPL's one of the project engineers at BPL.
Okay.
And I mostly do the environmental projects, but I've done other projects along the way. I was involved in the Station A project with the new engines, the 7 new engines. So those are the types of things I do.
To date, what would you say would have been the most exciting thing you would have done so far?
I think the Station A project, you know,
Okay.
I'm not electrical or mechanical, so
Okay.
being involved in the big engines and making sure they're installed properly, being a part of that project was a major deal.
Okay. And it sounds like some of what you all do overlap because you're talking about some of the environmental information and you mentioned safety. What would you say would be some of the things that, you know, if you could think of a project that you would have worked on so far at BPL, what would be the most exciting thing you would have done in your safety area?
Well, for us in my department, health, safety, and environment, we focus more on compliance. So we basically want to make sure that everyone is doing what they're supposed to be doing,
Okay.
right? So that once the employees do it, then that means the company is in good stead as well. So we focus a lot on actually writing the policies, writing the procedures, making sure the training is done, and I like going through that process, that evolution of saying, okay, this is what we need to do to make things, you know, make it done safely, make sure we protect the environment. Then we go out and make sure that we get the persons trained, and then on the compliance end, we now go and look at how it's being implemented. And when you see that people are actually doing what they're supposed to do, and, you know, and they're actually falling in line with, you know, as Ms. McKinney said, they're actually adhering to all of the standards that are in place. You know, that to me means that we're achieving something, we're getting somewhere. So I like doing that.
All right. So is that just here in Nassau or that's for our friends in Crooked Island and our BPL colleagues in Exuma? That's everyone or just here in Nassau? How?
That is everyone.
Okay.
So Bahamas Power and Light means Bahamas Power and Light. So that means we cover pretty much every island in the Bahamas.
So we were talking about a lot about science, and I know that some of you mentioned that you did engineering. Could you just kind of give us a difference between the two, you know, science itself and, you know, pull us into where engineering is? I see you look like this is your question, Dr. Longley. Go ahead.
Well, engineering is applying the science, math and science, using math and science to solve problems. So we have science in our background. We took science classes, most of us did, but it's not just science, you know. We use that information to solve problems.
Okay. And you would agree with that. How does
I
your...
would agree with that. So scientists really look into the why of something or how it is. They look
Okay.
into what makes it what it is.
Okay.
They do a lot of research and they try to understand basic principles. And so we as engineers, we take that information, we take those findings, we take that understanding, and we then look at the problems that we have today and figure out how we can use that information to solve the problems that we deal with today. So all of us in our backgrounds, we use the information that the scientists have gathered around us throughout our company and try to figure out how we can actually use that information to solve some of the issues that BPL encounters now in its daily operations. And whatever we come up with, the solutions that we find, we then have to pass it on to our executive team that not only take into account what we have discovered, but also take into account many other variables that goes into their decision making. But we play a critical role in providing information and providing solutions and options for them to take to address some of the problems that we encounter.
Okay, so you all act as, little Miss Fix-Its. You get the issue and you take what this one said and make sure that you put it all together and say, here, this is how you fix it. Awesome, good stuff. So tell me, how important, Chantel, do you think it is for, girls to study science and engineering and technology, the whole STEM? Let me say it in order. Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. How important do you think that is for our Bahamian young girls?
Well, I think once you have a child, a student who's showing that interest, who's showing that capability with the sciences, when you're talking about chemistry, you're talking about math, I'm talking about physics. Once they're showing that, I think it's good to nurture that. I think it's good to encourage them to explore that, to look at how they can make use of that, rather than trying to steer them into a field that they may not be comfortable with. And I think once they get into that and you start nurturing it, then of course they'll then flourish in that area and become more involved in science and engineering.
Okay. Do any of you have somebody, that stood out to you in your younger years that may have kind of assisted in steering you into the direction you took? Good. Anybody?
While I was in college, I knew of Melanie Roach. I think she was one of the first female directors at Ministry of Works, right, or something like that.
That's correct.
I know she and I went to the same church at one point. And of course, I'm a lot younger, so I was like a kid. But when I heard about her, I heard that she was like the first female director, I think, at Ministry of Works. So I was already in school at that point, so I'd already made up my mind where I was going. But I mean, that was more motivation.
Okay. So how important do you think it is for young girls to watch a show like today and be able to say, I can do that? Those ladies, they're doing engineering. I probably can do that. How important do you think it is for a show like this to be held?
I think it's very important. I think for them to see, just to see other women in the industry. I know Chantel said that if, you see a woman or you see a young girl interested in math and science, but even those that are not interested, even those that, because I wasn't interested in math or physics or anything, so if you see someone, sometimes you just don't know what you can do with it. You don't know, there's a career in that, I could do that,
Exactly.
So you might encounter somebody that's not interested in anything. And so you may be able to let them know, well, there's so many different options for engineering or science or mathematics, so many different things you can do with it besides just work construction. Because everyone thinks when I say engineering, everyone is saying construction or, So it's a lot more you can do with it.
Okay. So they picture you up on a scaffold, just doing your thing.
Why do you have your nails done if you're an engineer? What does that have to do? Sometimes it's
Tell them,
off-putting.
no, women
Yeah.
in science, we could be cute
Yeah,
too. Yes,
exactly.
yes.
But that's before we move on, I think that is a very good point that Kenya brought up in terms of options for careers, because I know that growing up, when I showed an interest in chemistry and not so much biology, but mainly chemistry and physics.
bio.
I know. It really was the teachers around me and my family that was sort of trying to steer me towards medicine. And I found that this was like the main focus for women who are science inclined to really steer them towards medicine and not even so much engineering. But, the possibilities are wide open. Everything in the Bahamas, I mean, we have so many natural resources that need to be studied and researched and understood. We have so many problems that can be tackled from an engineering standpoint or from a technology standpoint, to get everybody sort of, off the grid. How do you get people to live off the grid? How do you get people to function in cyberspace and all of this stuff that the world is moving towards? And the possibilities are really endless when you talk about careers. And it's sad that sometimes, girls, if they're interested in it, get pigeonholed into this specific topic or that specific topic, when really it's open to anybody who's willing to give it a chance and explore the possibilities.
For me in high school, I made use of the guidance counselor.
Okay,
The guidance
smart.
counselor, I guess, was very open-minded. So, just in talking about the subjects that I liked and, the subjects that I was passionate about, we talked about, okay, we could lead that into engineering. And because chemistry was one of those that I was good at, chemical engineering then was what I was scared towards.
Awesome, because for me, those double bonds here and there, chemistry wasn't my thing. I was like, ooh, ketone, and no. Thank you so much, ladies. That was a very informative session. I can see and hear the passion in each of you. And we will be right back after this brief break.
Energy conservation is the decision and practice of using less energy. Energy efficiency means using less energy to perform the same task, that is, eliminating energy waste. Turning off lights when you leave a room. Unplugging appliances not in use. That's energy conservation. Replacing an old refrigerator or washing machine with a new model. Adding insulation to the attic and walls of a home. That's energy efficiency. People conserve to gain more control over their energy bill and to reduce demand on the Earth's natural resources. Energy-efficient buildings use less energy, cost less to operate, and produce fewer greenhouse gases. Bahamas Power and Light Company Limited looks forward to helping our customers eliminate wasted energy. Use appliances wisely and plug energy leaks with our new conservation and efficiency campaign. BPL, energizing sustainable change.
I always had a fascination for science. I can remember back to grade 6 in science class just having that wow factor over the simplest little things. And as I went through high school, that love for science just continued to expand. I can surely say that science is the most optimistic and engaging subject out there, and it helps to bring order and organization to chaos, and that's why I really love it. When it comes to science, students enjoy it through inquiry. So they not only need to be hands-on, but they need to be minds-on. So in class, I would always incorporate some form of manipulative, whether that's giving them something to put together, having them create a model, letting them do videos, debates, something that can really grasp their attention in. Since we've been virtual, I had to adapt some of that, but I can still use my videos, and I know that my students are competitive badly, and I use that to my advantage. So whether that's having some games and whoever wins get the best prize, something like that where they can be engaged. So I teach at a grade 10 to 12 school. In grade 10, my students are looking at the cells, the parts of the cell, and the structure. In grade 11, we're looking at the circulatory system, so that's the parts of the heart, the blood vessels, and the grooves. And in grade 12, we're looking at the endocrine system, so that's hormones, how our body coordinates and responds to different situations. Science is everywhere. As simple as your grandmother telling you, pour some baking soda and vinegar down the hole to get it clear. That's science. And that's what we need more of. We need our families to incorporate those simple science experiments. It's not all fancy chemicals and apparatus. These things we can find right in our cupboards. And science is also in our backyard. Most of the time when we go outside, we would swat at a bee, but if you were to just stand up, you can actually watch them do science by collecting pollen. I know my cousins and I would play punch boogie whenever we see a hatchback car. We could incorporate that to our native trees. Every time you see a lignum vitae, hit your friend, or if you see a coconut palm, that's how we can incorporate more right in our everyday lives. When it comes to girls in science, one of the key ways we can get them more involved is through a growth mindset. And this is encouraging them to believe that they can. So much of our girls always see science as a male industry, and they don't get that belief that they can do it. They need someone to encourage them and to expose them to all of the different fields within science. Science is more than just scientists. Science is doing. And there are so many industries right here in the Bahamas where a woman is the face of that science industry. If we could get more of these women involved with our students through programs that can adapt them and expose them to different aspects of science, more of our girls will be interested. They need more mentors, especially female mentors. And just by doing that, we can get so much more in science. So all of my students would know that technology is always a big aspect in my room. I love my interactive whiteboard because science can be complex, especially when it comes to labeling diagrams. So I love that aspect that I can give them that pen and they can label, drag, and do everything themselves. Watching videos, especially I love when I teach reproductive system about birth because I actually let them see that process. And I'm sure they can hear the screams from a mile away, but that makes science more engaging. As simple as teaching about the parts of the blood, they actually can see those things move through their blood vessels. So my interactive whiteboard, my projector, and my laptop, they are daily tools in my classroom. And now that we're going virtual and when we transition to the hybrid model, my students can now bring their devices. So now all of those resources that we could not do, we can now incorporate more virtual labs, which is another big plus in the classroom. So I'm a bit young in age, so I'm a little more current with the trends. And I can surely say that TikTok is something that is trending, and we need to use more of this in the school. I know that some of my colleagues did a Don't Rush challenge last year when this COVID thing really started, and we did it where we would show simple experiments. Easy things just like that. Our students love social media, and we need to use it more. Have them come up with different challenges right on TikTok or through Facebook or Instagram that they can incorporate and have a fun way of showing off science.
It was so great to hear from Ms. Storr. I see that she is so passionate about speaking with her students and girls in science. And right now we're going to hear from some other girls who would like to find out from you, a little bit more about what you think on their questions.
Did you have a role model that influenced your decision to work in science?
Okay, who wants to take that?
Ms. McKinney?
Don't all jump.
You had a teacher?
For me, my family is filled with people that are in the medical field. My mom is a nurse, a retired nurse now. And they all played a part in helping me to realize that science would be my path. But most especially, it would be my big sister. Her name is Roya. She is now a doctor of science, similar to Dr. Longley. And she has been passionate about the sciences for as long as I've known her. She's conducted many experiments on me. Because, she's 5 years older than I am. So
Okay.
I was her guinea pig for a lot of things. And it was very interesting growing up in our house. So, yes, definitely my family is filled with them. So, yes.
Okay. What kind of scientist is she?
Well, right now she is working on plant pathology, meaning she's looking at how to make plants more weather and pest resistant.
Okay.
She's living in South Africa. So similar to Dr. Longley, start off in agriculture. Yes.
Okay. And you were the good guinea pig. Awesome.
Yes.
Let's hear from another student.
Hi, BPL scientists. My name is Takaya Gibson, and a question I've had for a long time is, how do you smoothly transition from having somebody's power on and then turning it off? Like, is there a panel? Do you guys have little buttons that you press next to somebody's house? I've always wanted to know.
Okay, well, that's not a specific science question, but so at BPL, yes, we do have the option to turn off the power remotely. Or we can also go out and actually disconnect the power. Sometimes if we have to do restorations, for instance, say after a hurricane, if we need to, we can have the power disconnected, like I say, either remotely using buttons, or we can have it terminated at the site so that we can make sure that our employees are safe while they're out there working.
Okay. Safety first again. Yes.
Always.
All right. And I think we do have one more student who wants some knowledge from these ladies here.
Hello, scientists. How many stars in the sky?
This one would be for an astronomer or an aeronautical engineer. But I guess scientists estimate for this galaxy about 100,000 million stars. And you keep in mind there are but thousands of galaxies. So
Well, thank you so much, ladies. I'm sure that everybody enjoyed what you brought us today on this International Women and Girls Day in Science. But before we go, does any of you have, any last words to those little girls out there who joined us today?
Well, I'd like to say thank you for having us on, giving us the opportunity to present some inspiring words to encourage all the young ladies out there who may be interested in engineering and maybe were on the fence, not sure what to do. So thank you for that opportunity, for allowing us to spread that message today.
Okay, Ms. McKinney?
Yes, similar to Chantal, I do want to thank you for this opportunity and thank BPL at large as well. And to all the young ladies out there, just know that science is very wide, it's very broad. The sky is the limit really when it comes to looking at your career, and don't ever feel intimidated or get scared that you're not good enough, because you are, most definitely.
Awesome. And Dr. Longley?
same as everyone else, thank you for having us. Be encouraged and keep moving forward. If they can do it, we can do it too. Women, girls.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, ladies, for your passion. And just a reminder to all of you little girls out there, just know that glass ceiling is right there for you to break.